Japanese banzai style of attack, where you jump on the enemy in an open attack, despite the fact that you're outnumbered heavily, will not work here. So if you see some of the descriptions of battles, early battles in what is seen as Rajputana at this point, between the Islamic, let's say, forces and the Hindu forces, I will say that the division was very clear there. We resorted to the old style Kshatriya kind of attack, which is you were hoping that he would be honest enough to face you properly and that your children and women would never be affected. Because the one thing which people keep forgetting is that, of course, there were battles between Hindu kings. Of course, there were battles between Hindu samrajyas at all points of time. That is natural, because the rule of a Kshatriya is constant expansion of his territory. That would continue. The point is, the Jivan Pranali would be left untouched. That is why there has been continuity of life despite these battles between these kingdoms, which are purely political in nature. They would not destroy each other's temples. They would actually take away each other's deities and sanctify it in their kingdoms. Now, when geniuses actually compare that example with the Muslim invasions, to say you guys also did the same thing, and take the argument to its logical conclusion, which is we took those, let's say, deities, because we said if it comes to our country or our kingdom, it brings prosperity along with it, and that energy will now reside in my kingdom. We respect that energy, therefore we want it there. That's not the case with the other person. Now, it took us a while to understand this. Now, unfortunately, I think the clear milestone, the negative milestone, which resulted in this concept of compromise being deeply ingrained in our consciousness, is one, of course, the introduction of the English education system, and two, the deification of certain individuals who were textbook products as envisaged by the British education system. And I am not holding anyone responsible in retrospect because I derive some vicarious pleasure in pulling them down. I am saying if that mentality continues till date and it has a continuing effect, I have no other option but to discuss the person. The person I am discussing is Raja Ram Mohan Roy. According to me, Raja Ram Mohan Roy has not been analyzed enough. I don't think his contributions or otherwise to Hindu thought have been understood enough. And Raja Ram Mohan Roy was seen as the ideological progenitor of the Congress by the Congress itself in its official biographies of the institution, of the organization. So that means you set up the biggest political platform with the support of the British and with Raja Ram Mohan Roy as your Adarsh. What do you expect after that? He blows up Sati. Sati was literally prevalent in pockets and in negligible numbers. That is blown up as the sole identity that defines Bharat's identity or the Hindu identity. You have literally handed yourself on a golden platter to someone who wishes to convert you by saying this is the problem with my community, and you've blown up the scope of the problem. I'm never saying ignore the problem. I'm never going to say brush it under the carpet. I'm saying but do not magnify it beyond its actual extent, because that is giving a handle to someone who's motivated. So to my mind, that phase of Bharatiya history effectively has been poorly understood, because just as certain other icons today cannot be touched because touching them would mean creating caste tensions, Raja Ram Mohan Roy cannot be touched because he is apparently seen as the ideological forebearer of modern India. That, I think, is where this problem has started. Fortunately, what I see as the Shakta movement, which resulted in the revolutionary movement being created, and through so-called extremists like the Lal Bal Pal, okay, and these people effectively started that movement. Had that thought process not entered the Congress, I shudder to think what would have been the fate of this country in 1947, because the Congress in 1947 was significantly represented by both strands, the moderates and the extremists, because there was some kind of a compromise. Then, of course, in between there was the creation of the Swaraj Party and all that. So Had that not happened, we would have been lock, stock, sold fully. And we would have perhaps remained Hindus, but we would have become completely Christianized Hindus. To me, conversion to Christianity is better than Christianization of the Hindu identity. Because frankly speaking, then what happens is you're an absolute hypocrite, or you are sleeping in such a deep bubble that you don't recognize that you have Christianized Hindu tenets fully. That is worse, because one is to reject the Shastra and the other is to biblicize the Shastra. I cannot accept the second. And that is what we are going down the path of. I say this, that everybody who speaks of reform in the Hindu society needs to be extremely cautious of what is it that you exactly want. In whose image do you want to mold the Hindu society is a question you need to ask. And second, if according to you, reform will lead to greater prosperity and unity, well, the product of Reformation, which is modern day Europe, is in front of you, which is being taken over, and the fastest rising religion in that particular continent is Islam. So, my case is better made by the future, the potential future of Bharat, which is the present of Europe. I rest my case.